And guys, we are live once again. What is going on, everybody? This is the Club of the Man 1993. I'm coming at you live for my top 10 special live stream of the week. This is the second to last WrestleMania top 10 special that we are going to be doing. As of course, next week will be the go home week for WrestleMania. It looks like they are starting the construction of the stage at MetLife Stadium as well. Cannot wait, as we are just a week and a half away from WrestleMania 35 and just a little over a week until I leave for WrestleMania 35. As again, I'll be catching the Mega Bus next Friday at 11 o'clock p.m., around this exact time, actually, next Friday, and I will be on the road to WrestleMania, basically. Legitimately, for sure, as we travel from here to New York City, and it'll be the second time, of course, I've ever been in New York City, and I look forward to definitely everything that I'm taking part of in so far. Is going to be a very exciting trip. Myself, my good friend Daniel Geiza, of course, will be going, and again, I'll be sitting in section 126, row 23, seat number 4. And of course, I can't wait to go to WrestleMania Access, the Jim Ross show, the Hall of Fame ceremony. Check out the Empire State Building, 9/11 Memorial Museum. We're going to do definitely a good amount of exploring too while we're there as well. So it's going to be a fun trip. I cannot wait, guys. But tonight's, of course, top 10 special is probably one of my more favorite ones. I always enjoy talking about matches for some reason the most. So I feel like they're the ones I'm able to talk about the most for the most part. Storylines, I'd say, would be second. A whole show in general, could be there too. But this is talking about matches, honestly, is my favorite thing. Especially, again, the more I've done these streams, the more I've realized I have so much more fun talking about the worst rather than the best, basically. But there's nobody in the live chat right now. So I was going to give you the option, the best and the worst first. There's technically just 2 lists in this stream. But there is a third one with just 3 that I could think of, because I didn't want to exclude women from this list, because women, especially the past couple years, have had some good matches that have really made some good marks in WrestleMania history for sure. Of course, with this year, the women being the main event of WrestleMania 35, of course, things got a little crazy this week with Charlotte Flair, of course, dethroning Asuka and kind of burying Asuka on SmackDown this week. Wonders what's going to happen now with that match. Is it going to be a unification match? Is just the Raw Women's Championship going to lie? Like, we don't know what's going to happen. But, of course, we'll have to see what happens this week. As I swore they did say on SmackDown, Alexa Bliss is going to have some thinking to do about this one with her being the host of WrestleMania. So we'll have to wait and see, of course, what they decide to do with it. But that's that. So, again, before I get started, since there's nobody in the live chat right now, I will mention my 3 women's matches that I think are definitely some of the best ones in WrestleMania history to look back on and remember. Because, again, let's face it, the women have got the short stick most of the time when it came to wrestling. Hadn't really taken seriously was wrestling at all. Again, there was only really one singles match before WrestleMania 32 that I actually thought was good at WrestleMania, and it's on my list at number 2. Well, we'll go for these top 3. This one's my number 3 because of, what happened to the superstar who lost afterwards. But this was still an excellent women's match, and definitely a match of the year candidate for me last year altogether. Number 3 is last year's SmackDown Women's Championship match, Charlotte versus Asuka at WrestleMania 34. Now, an honorable mention I was also going to include on this list also was the mixed tag match last year with Ronda and Kurt taking on Stephanie and Triple H, but I did not include that because, technically it wasn't a women's match, it's a mixed tag match. But it was definitely a match that definitely made a huge statement for a women's wrestler, definitely, as people, weren't sure what to expect from Ronda. But that's definitely, of course, an honorable mention for a women's match. But last year also, the second best match, in my opinion, from last year's WrestleMania was the SmackDown Women's Championship match with Asuka and Charlotte. These 2 went out there and just put on a women's classic, I thought. Asuka's hard-hitting, Charlotte's great agility and whatnot. And it's told that great story about, how Asuka, was showing, even though she lost, booked right, of course, she definitely is one of the best for sure in this company. The WWE just has not utilized her properly at all, of course, ever since this happened. But this was showing that, it was one of the best, wanting to beat the best to prove she belongs, where she claims she does. And, it was just one of those great, hard hitting, back and forth, close call matches. Yeah, was just, again, one of the best we've seen in wrestling history. Again, it probably would have been maybe a little higher up, but I gave it number 3 because, again, of what it did afterwards. Yes, the build could have been a little bit better. It was more so, the simple story, okay, I want to prove I'm better than you, but there was really nothing else to it besides just that. Of course, Asuka tapped out to lose for the first time in 2.5 years in WWE. Afterwards, acknowledging some respects that Charlotte was ready for Asuka. But, of course, ever since then, Asuka has not been able to beat Charlotte. Of course, there was the triple threat ladder match at TLC, but she won that by climbing the ladder after Ronda came out and knocked Becky and Charlotte off of the ladder, basically. God. But it's still, to me, one of the best women's wrestling matches I've seen in WrestleMania, and that's why I got to give it number 3 again. Asuka losing those things was fine. They could have, because again, I didn't trust the WWE to book her undefeated streak properly for a whole nother year. So I was fine at this, but again, they just didn't do anything good with it, and that's why, unfortunately, Asuka's fallen off since. But the second WrestleMania match, women's match, I wanted to mention for sure is WrestleMania 22's women's title match. Trish Stratus and Mickie James. Is that amazing story just establishing a new star. We've been in the Trish and Lita era right now. Of course, obviously, this is towards the end of their career. So obviously, they need some other people to be coming in and pretty much get ready to take their spots. And Mickie James has made a case for it by having a character that apparently she kind of had full control over the right, I heard. Being like just this, obsessed fan of Trish Stratus, basically kind of have this big obsession and, somewhat crush on her also as well. To then just, just going chaotic over her and wanting to be able to take her championship off of her. And the match put on WrestleMania was definitely awesome. With the exception of, Mickey's inappropriate gesture of the international peace sign, of course, which I believe has been edited out of certain versions, but, it's still a mark that WWE fans, still remember. And you've seen highlights, of course, or in any video people reveal, censor stuff that WWE's trying to make you not remember. But it happens. And what's up, Jalen? By the way, see you in the live chat, my friend. But that one match is also another one. And to me, the best WrestleMania women's match, in my opinion, though, is still that triple threat match at WrestleMania 32 with Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch. This is the match that retired the Divas Championship and brought back the Women's Championship. And it was only fitting for 3 of the 4 horsewomen of WWE to be in this match. 3 women who had literally just come up to the main roster the previous summer to just make a statement and make a difference with women's wrestling for sure. And they for sure accomplished that. Of course, further on to the year, that's when we had the feud with Charlotte and Sasha. Even though, yes, hot potato back and forth, we got, and Sasha Banks cannot defend the title in a single, title defense. What those two women did just made huge statements for sure. Even, of course, the triple threat that they had also at Clash of Champions that year was also pretty good match. Of course, one of the only few good things about that show. I remember that show kind of sucked. But this triple threat match at WrestleMania again was just amazing. Just some of the most amazing stuff we've ever seen out of the women. Telling just that great story again. Just introducing what women's wrestling really can be, and give the chance of what they bring to the table, and what the future is to come for WWE as well. I mean, yes, I would rather have seen Sasha Banks win this. I mean, or I thought this is when Charlotte was going to drop the championship in general, like drop her title reign, even though it kind of did drop because it went from a new championship to another. Even though combined that Divas title reign with that women's title reign, Charlotte technically has a longer championship reign than Nikki Bella's longest reign Divas title reign. So, which I feel is much more deserving to be in that spot than Nikki Bella for sure. But I definitely think that was the best women's match though in WrestleMania history, in my opinion. And also, Jalen says Trish and Mickie were amazing. Definitely were for sure. Again, except for that international peace sign, but definitely was an amazing match. So those are some honorable women's matches that I wanted to mention that didn't make the cut here. So I guess Again, I'll start with the best matches this time and end with the worst. The worst, again, I have more to say about, and it's more entertaining. So let's get right into my top 10 best WrestleMania matches of all time. Starting off with number 10. In my opinion, this one, or a match from WrestleMania 10 between Owen Hart and Bret Hart, which is an honorable mention for this list for sure. But in my opinion, like in my years as a wrestling fan, my favorite opener of any WrestleMania. And you can also kind of give another honorable mention, maybe the last year's opener, the Intercontinental Championship match. That was pretty good. I mean, the past couple years, we've had some pretty good opening matches, if you think about it. We've had, I can remember all the opening matches off the top of my head from WrestleMania 30 onward. Last year, it was the IC title triple threat with Miz, Finn Balor, and Seth Rollins, which I kept saying for months, make that a triple threat match. Yeah, they had that triple threat number one contenders match on Raw like a year earlier, and it just knocked it out of the ballpark for sure. And I knew if they did it again, they would be awesome, and it was. At WrestleMania 33, despite the fact I still feel that match that AJ Styles deserved better than this match with Shane McMahon, AJ Styles and Shane McMahon still had a phenomenal, no pun intended, opening match. WrestleMania 32 and 31, it was the Intercontinental Championship ladder matches that they had opening the show, I believe. And those were just some fun stuff in general as well. There's some amazing matches. But still, the one at WrestleMania 30, in my opinion, is I know some people would say WrestleMania 10's opener with Bret and Owen was probably the best opener of WrestleMania of all time, which it is, but the one I just have a much more respect for is more from WrestleMania 30. Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, the night that I've been waiting for in my less than a year as a full-time wrestling fan for sure. And this night I wanted to see Daniel Bryan overcome all the odds and, earn what he has rightfully deserved, and the crowd knows knew he deserved it at the time, and becoming WWE champion. First step though, he had to get through the one man who is who's the biggest thorn in the side of all this. We knew he could beat Randy Orton. He hadn't beaten Batista yet at the time, but we knew we had seen him pin Randy Orton plenty of times beforehand. So this opening match was just, just the beginning for the story, the great story I was told. And as I probably said last week or recently with one of my streams, could you imagine if Daniel Bryan did not get this spot at WrestleMania, having a WrestleMania with him taking on Sheamus, Triple H and CM Punk, Orton and Batista, and the Undertaker streak ending? Would have been a sad WrestleMania to watch, I feel. But this, of course, has made us, out of the ballpark better, for sure. As the match, of course, consists of, Triple H, just wanting to just end this whole thing, but it just did not happen, as Bryan did overcome the odds and beat Triple H. And just an amazing back and forth match. Triple H firing all of his best stuff at him also. Like, Triple H didn't look like he was just, just take it easy. Yeah, Bryan, we'll just walk through the park, buddy. I'll put you away here. No, he was trying to hurt Daniel Bryan. And he took advantage of, all the beatdowns he gave Bryan, especially that vicious assault he had gotten him 2 weeks before WrestleMania. Bryan was selling injuries. Again, I will agree with Batista though on one thing though. Batista in an interview said that Bryan was selling the injuries very well all night until when he won the titles. He said that he kind of bothered him that Bryan didn't sell the injuries, which I will kind of knock Bryan for that. That is kind of true. But again, this match was just an excellent opener, just set the stage for what is yet to come later on in the show and keep everyone alert and pumped for that main event for sure when it came later on. So that's why it is one of my favorite matches of all time. So that's why it is my number 10. My number 10 again is Daniel Bryan versus Triple H in the opener for WrestleMania 30. Number 9. Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6. WWF World Title and Intercontinental title for title match on the line. Just what should have been, of course, a full-on passing of the torch match. Did not happen because, Hogan would eventually get back on top with the title a year later. But this is just a classic match of, Hogan, who had been, the icon for the first several years of wrestling. And then the Ultimate Warrior comes along, of course, just a big upcoming star for sure. Of course, going to be a Hall of Famer. Unfortunately, died 2 days after he got inducted to the Hall of Fame. I still can't believe that happened. That was still gives me chills that happen, especially with that speech again he had on the Raw after WrestleMania. It just gives me chills that they're listening to everything he said just for that to happen. It's like, dang. But this match, again, was freaking awesome. Even though, of course, at the end, even though Warrior had pinned Hogan for 3, like, as soon as the referee counted 3, Hogan had to kick out because you gotta look strong, brother, as Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn said about that in the Talk is Jericho podcast, which I gotta listen to that podcast again. Of any Talk is Jericho podcast, guys, that was my favorite. I still recommend the one when Jericho interviewed Owens and Zayn, like shortly after, Owens and Zayn started teaming up on SmackDown in 2017. But yeah, Warrior and Hogan, definitely one of my favorite main event matches of all time when I've gone back and watched all the WrestleManias, and I had to give it a rub for one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time. So that's why that is my number 9 on this list. Number 8 comes from a match that should have been the main event of this show. WrestleMania 18, you know what I'm talking about. The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan in an iconic passing of the torch match. Of course, this is getting to a point, where, Hogan was definitely starting to age. He obviously didn't really have too many years of good quality wrestling left in him. I mean, of course, the match at SummerSlam 2005 he had with Shawn Michaels was probably his last really good match, because the following year he had a match with Randy Orton, and let's be real, it wasn't that great of a match for sure. But this match, of course, was just an iconic moment. 2 icons of different generations is coming together, and it was basically passing the torch moment. The crowd was invested in this match. Like, these are 2 guys which, although yes, they have good in-ring ability, it's their characters and what they know for. The Great One versus the most electrifying man, basically. Those personas just coming together and clash just had this crowd hot off their feet for sure. And it got that crazy that, even at one point in the match, the crowd kind of turned on Rock and was rooting for Hogan. The newbie, was not the more over man in this match, and they were rolling with it at times. But, of course, my favorite part of this match was still what happened after the match. Just the slow and accepting, sign of respect between Hogan and Rock for sure. Basically, a passing of the torch moment. The crowd was hot. Of course, afterwards, I forgot which faction it was, came down trying to beat them down. They both had one more, moment there, just, taking them out basically, as it was kind of a passing of the torch moment from, Hogan onto Rock, of course, basically. But to me, it was still an amazing moment and an amazing match. And again, it's one of those several matches that I got back and watched as thinking, man, I wish I was a fan at this time. I feel like I could have been more appreciative of, what this moment meant. But still, it was still a huge moment, though, in my opinion, seeing those 2 come together and shake on it, basically, and get the reaction that it got. And that's why my number list is my number 8 for my top 10 WrestleMania best matches of all time. Number 7. A lot of people, I'm pretty sure, feel this match should be higher up on my list. But I really feel because of, the aftermath from this match, how it didn't really quite, rub in the right direction. I feel a lot of people, feel should have, because no one wanted to boo this guy. But, the match was still phenomenal to what everyone says is the best WrestleMania of all time. Of course, there's another match from this WrestleMania on this list a little further up, but that I put a little higher than this. I was surprised, but, this still was awesome. But again, I put this down a little bit lower because of, the aftermath. This heel turn wasn't really the best idea to do in the end. But The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin 2, WrestleMania 17. I remember when I was doing my WrestleMania review series, I was watching this WrestleMania at 2 o'clock in the morning when I saw this match. And of course, I'm usually pretty tired at 2 a.m. Well, if you see me on, come up here to do, any live reviews that late, usually it's my Wednesdays, I'm usually doing reviews that late because of how many shows there are. But I remember watching this match at 2 a.m. And let me put it this way, guys. I mean, I loved the match with Shinsuke Nakamura and Sami Zayn when I was watching NXT TakeOver Dallas, and it was the first ever NXT I was able to watch, without using I should say using, but without having to go watch it with a friend, because it was the first NXT I had watched since I had watched NXT full time, basically, because I got the network in like December of 2015. And that's when, of course, I started watching NXT, of course. But anyways, getting back on track here. I watched that show, and it was one of the best NXTs ever. But I did get a little heavy at one point during the show, and I actually dozed off for a few minutes during the Nakamura and Zayn match. This match was on at 2 a.m., and somehow I did not fall asleep because I thought it was just that good. The near falls, the chemistry, the selling, the story of Austin obviously just doing anything he can to try to get back on top, with The Rock obviously, just taking his spot up at the top of the pedestal, going as far as aligning himself with his biggest arch enemy in Vincent Kennedy McMahon. As, of course, the year before, Vince turned on The Rock for Triple H in the main event of WrestleMania 2000. But, I mean, yes, in the long run, the heel turn just didn't really work for Stone Cold, because, once again, nobody wanted to boo Stone Cold, and eventually would be turned back to the babyface the lovable babyface that he was at one point, the toughest SOB there is. But this was still just an excellent main event to get to the in everyone's opinion, and I can agree with this, the best WrestleMania of all time. So number 7 is Stone Cold versus The Rock at WrestleMania 17. Number 6, the culmination at WrestleMania 30. Again, my personal favorite WrestleMania match, but I don't believe it's the best WrestleMania match of all time, but it's one of them for sure. Number 6 is the main event of WrestleMania 30. Randy Orton versus Batista versus Daniel Bryan in the triple threat match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Bryan, of course, came out, selling the injuries he had from the post-match beatdown by Stephanie McMahon and Triple H after their opening match. Obviously, Batista and Orton were still, healthy. And again, it's this whole story, two guys that obviously the Authority wanted to see in that match. And of course, what WWE wanted to see in that match at first for sure, because they had no intention, of course, of throwing Daniel Bryan into that main event. Again, he was originally supposed to face Sheamus, which would have been absolutely stupid. Like, what would that have done for him, and what would that have done for Sheamus? You literally were about to have, a story that started at SummerSlam, literally just have the Authority, just dump someone you literally have built up all summer. Again, 2013 was the summer of Daniel Bryan, just like 2011 was the summer of Punk. You were literally going to throw all that momentum away at WrestleMania 30 by giving the main event to Batista and Randy Orton. And you want to throw Bryan in just a random pointless match on the card with Sheamus, because of course that's when they've been talking for about a while about turning Sheamus heel, which definitely Sheamus could have used a heel turn, definitely, even though he still never really, well, again, with the Bar he's been great, but as a single star his heel run has not really been that good. But Sheamus and Bryan would not have been good. But this match, again, Bryan went in this match, of course, obviously selling injuries. He showed all of his heart just fighting through this match, just giving it his best. And of course, at one point during this match, out came Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and Scott Armstrong. And of course, when they came out this time, I was kind of hoping for a CM Punk return, and he would take out Triple H to help Bryan win the title, which would have been awesome. But unfortunately, it wouldn't have happened. But did not happen. But of course, they just, again, a match where they literally threw everything at Bryan, and Bryan was able to fight out of it all, no matter how bad it looked. They tried to get Scott Armstrong in there to pretty much go against Bryan basically, but Bryan took him out. And then, of course, the Triple H tried using the sledgehammer on Bryan, but it did not work. And Bryan used the sledgehammer instead on the game himself and did a suicide dive, which, I miss when he does those. But once again, I know he can't do them because of his, his concussions history. But you know what? It's okay with me. I'm still glad he's getting the opportunity to do what he thought he got taken away from him a couple years ago. But he did a suicide dive to take out all three of them: Triple H, Scott Armstrong, and Stephanie McMahon. And then, of course, so they're finally taken away. And of course, that was, of course, keep in mind, too, Vince was not there for this main event. Remember, because Vince McMahon went to the hospital to be with The Undertaker after suffering the concussion he did during his match with Brock Lesnar a little earlier on. Which, of course, if Triple H, was not in the back, like, doing Vince's job, we would have never heard one of the best calls in WrestleMania history. A miracle on Bourbon Street for sure. We would have never heard that call. And even, Michael Cole, JBL, and who was it? Lawler. I think Lawler was on commentary also. Again, like they even told Bryan, on a day when Bryan originally retired back in 2016, that was one of the best calls they ever got to have. And I agree. I absolutely agree. Once again, when you get Vince McMahon out of some of these guys' ears, some of those guys who we say are really bad commentators actually aren't as bad as they look. They may not be, no JRs or no Mauro Ranallos, or Vic Joseph's not that ear. And honestly, too, I've been liking Aiden English on commentary so far on 205 Live. But honestly, again, if you get Vince out of these people's ears, even Renee Young's ear, then these guys can definitely be better commentators than, they could already come across as. But that moment again was just amazing. And of course, they're having, Orton and Batista teaming up to take out Bryan with the Batista bomb to an RKO through a table. Looked like, the dream was dead for Daniel Bryan. But Bryan, of course, fought out of that stretch, got back into the match. He just pretty much took out Orton, and then he does the flying knee to Batista, finishing it off by getting Batista himself to tap out. He had already proven he had pinned Randy Orton. He didn't need to pin Randy Orton. He had to pin Batista. And Daniel Bryan gets that WrestleMania moment that, of course, he definitely deserved that year. It was an awesome moment. I was really excited when that happened. One of the most excited I've been as a fan. Again, I was still, new to watching this stuff, and I've been watching it full time for a year. Again, I'm watching it off and on for over a year at a time, but it'll have been since SummerSlam when I've been watching it full time. And I was just, it was definitely an exciting moment for me in my early years as a wrestling fan. Of course, I'm hoping I've had many more since, of course, but to me, it was definitely it's an awesome night for sure. Just one of the best ways to end WrestleMania for sure, on a happy note. But of course, we've had some years. Well, here's the thing. The reason why the change for SummerSlam 2010 ended the way it did is because Vince McMahon said, "I have to have SummerSlam have a happy ending. Gotta send the kids home." Well, once again, SummerSlam 2013 didn't have a happy ending because Daniel Bryan got robbed. Last year's WrestleMania didn't end with a happy ending. It would have never been a happy ending, but even a worse ending than it could have been because you didn't have the balls last year at WWE. We'll talk about that for sure when we get to the worst. But yeah, one of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time, and then number 6 on my list for best WrestleMania matches of all time. So far, again, for those of you, if anybody's joining us live in the live chat, which Mark's in the live chat now, guys. So far I've shared 3 women's matches that I would definitely put in these lists for best, which was Charlotte and Asuka last year, Mickey and Trish at 22, and then the Triple Threat at WrestleMania 32 are my top 3 women's matches. For top 10 bests we've done so far, number 10 was Bryan and Triple H, 9 was Hogan and Warrior, 8 was The Rock and Hogan, 7 is Austin and Rock at WrestleMania 17, and 6 was the main event of WrestleMania 30. Live chat. Do you think wrestling is dead? I don't. I'm tired of those fanboys makes fun of today's fans who actually like wrestling today. Again, wrestling is not dead. Well, it's not WWE. The only thing, if WWE, of course, which again, right now, again, it's just Raw. I keep saying this, like 2018 was not one of the best years for WWE, but it's mainly because of Raw. Like SmackDown had good stuff last year. NXT had great stuff. I don't watch much, outside, but New Japan is doing well. ROH is doing awesome. Ring of Honor, well, I just said that. I'm sorry. AEW is looking to be pretty good so far. I'm hoping to check out Double or Nothing sometime in May. But again, there is still, even in WWE, there is still hope for, for like any wrestling fan in general, for sure. Again, to me right now, the only promotion I think that absolutely sucks is Raw. Raw is the only show that's just been awful right now. I don't think wrestling is dead for sure. And, I'm tired of people also, just getting on people, us for joining stuff because, oh, it's fake. Well, again, isn't The Walking Dead fake? Isn't, all these crazy sitcoms we watch fake, or these are like horror movies? They're all fake. It's called fiction. You guys enjoy fiction, right? They're actors. Their job, if someone in like, again, I don't really watch The Walking Dead, but if someone in The Walking Dead is, obviously is not, making you feel like, what's happening is real, then they're not doing their job as an actor. These guys in the ring are actors, and they're talented, and their goal is supposed to make this look real and look amazing for sure. So that's why it drives me nuts when people get on me because, oh, why do you watch that stuff? It's fake. Then talk about your other TV shows. But yeah, I don't think wrestling is dead for sure. Jalen also said that Hogan and The Rock at WrestleMania 18 was legendary for sure. What's going on, Mark? Worst, Braun Strowman and Nicholas versus the Bar, and then Bobby versus Umaga. Definitely talk about one of those. Brock and Goldberg is the worst for him. Hogan and Rock is the best, and so is Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Ooh, yes. What's up, Jay? He says his number one is Taker and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. I definitely got to agree with you on that. We will get to that later. Well, thank you for joining the stream also, my friend. Another best for him is Taker and Triple H WrestleMania 27 and 28. Taker and Kane 20 was good. Cena JBL WrestleMania 21 was okay. I know it was when Cena won his first world title. It was okay, but I expected better probably when I thought that. But WrestleMania 21 is definitely one of my favorite WrestleManias for sure. And of course, we'll talk about that WrestleMania, of course, next week in my top 10 WrestleManias of all time. But thank you, Mark, Jalen, and Jay for leaving your stuff in the live chat as always. Let's get back to the list for best, and of course, the worst to do. But we're going to talk about my top 5 best matches in WrestleMania history. Number 5 is a tag team match. And we all know this is probably one of the best tag team matches of all time. The Dudley Boys versus Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys, TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17. These guys are just 3 of the best tag teams of all time for sure. And, they're definitely 3 that their styles mesh together. There are 3 tag teams that literally have, mixed, the style of like, extreme to, above its limit with tables, ladders, and chairs. Like you could have gone as far as made this, a hardcore match. And I'm sure these 2 teams would have tore it up. It was just one of those, like, like WrestleMania 32 was like the TLC 2 for women's wrestling. Like basically, like this match was, because when I watched most of the WrestleManias before this and I saw tag team matches, they weren't terrible, like at best solid, but nothing to me really stood out that great about the tag team matches. This one, I gotta say, was definitely one of the first, like, classic tag team matches for sure we have seen, especially in WrestleMania history for sure. Against just 3 of the best teams that absolutely even make a mark of not just again with tag team wrestling, but with with TLC in general as well. And as I always say, guys, my favorite spot in this match is still's got to be, and I can't believe I forgot to mention this. I forgot to put this in my list for top 10 WrestleMania moments a couple weeks ago. My favorite spot, though, of this match is when Edge speared Jeff Hardy in midair while Jeff Hardy was hanging from the titles dangling because he had, not lost his, footing on the ladder and was holding on to those titles for dear life. That is still my favorite spot and one of my favorite moments in wrestling history for sure is that spear right there because it's just, just brings out the daredevilness in some of these guys. And it's my number 4 on my list, my top 10 best WrestleMania matches of all time. I'm sorry, not number 5. Number 4 is also a match that pretty much made someone to what he would eventually be. My number 4, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin in the submission match at WrestleMania 13. Just an amazing match with an amazing outcome and an amazing finish at the end. Obviously, again, this was basically the beginning of the Austin era and the Attitude Era in general. Just classic simple double turn philosophy. A guy like Bret Hart, who had been, the over lovable babyface for a long time, becoming the villain as the crowd, with how this match went, with Stone Cold Steve Austin taking nasty bumps, of course, and just, come across as just a very tough SOB, especially that finish. That long finish of Stone Cold Steve Austin in the sharpshooter, blood gushing all down his face, just doing everything he can to break out of that submission. He never tapped out. He passed out. And that just turned the crowd on Hart. And they were all behind Austin. And WWE went right with it. This is what turned Bret Hart heel. Of course, it would eventually lead to, the Montreal Screwjob later on that year in 1997 with Hart and Michaels at Survivor Series that year. Of course, WrestleMania 14, 12, I believe it was, 12 was the year of the Iron Man match, which is not bad, but I don't feel like it's as good as people make it seem like it is. But it's definitely still another great match in wrestling history for sure. But this was still just an iconic moment, classic double turn, and the beginning of the Austin era. Again, that finish in general of Austin's face with the blood coming out and how he passed out to the sharpshooter. He did not tap out, he passed out, but it took quite a bit of time and a lot of, strength for Hart to do what he did, to get Austin to pass like he did, making Austin the toughest SOB. And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. That is my number 4 for my best WrestleMania matches of all time. Number 3, another one of my personal favorites. And this is special to me, as I keep saying, because I actually got to talk to one of the wrestlers when I met him last year at the 2018 World of Wheels convention right here in Pittsburgh. But one of my favorite matches of all time to watch didn't involve a championship or whatnot. It was just a technical masterpiece between two of the greatest of all time. Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21. Now, of course, WrestleMania 21 is definitely best remembered for, the moments of John Cena, Batista winning their first world titles and just, really, going off with a bang with their careers. But this match, still in my opinion, outdid both of them. I mean, the Raw moments were great. Again, JBL and Cena was all right, could have been better. Batista and Triple H was good. That was the main event of the show, of course. But this match right here was just amazing. The simple story of basically, Angle targeting Michaels, talk about how, back when he won his Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking neck, as he always says, that was around time, everybody just wanted to talk about Shawn Michaels. And obviously he wanted to prove that he was better than Shawn Michaels. So much great back and forth technical wrestling action in this match. And of course, nothing could beat, though, my favorite part, which when I met Kurt last year, I was telling him how much I love that part. I still will not forget when I told him, I said, so of all your matches I've had, I'd say my favorite match was you and Shawn at WrestleMania 21. First thing he says was, oh, I really gave it to Shawn. And then I said that finish, though, was just amazing, of putting the ankle lock on him. And obviously, Shawn Michaels was someone who was not going to easily tap out to a finisher. I can't remember how long it was. It had been a good maybe 7 minutes. Maybe not that long, but a good amount of time that Angle had to lock Shawn Michaels in that ankle lock to really make it look like that Angle was going to earn this win and, really, get one up on one of the best of all time for sure, in wrestling for sure. And Michaels doing everything to fight out of it, but Kurt just looked like the toughest SOB that night, just doing everything he can, trying to break the ankle of Shawn Michaels until he finally got Shawn Michaels to tap out. And it was just a great way to, have Shawn Michaels look amazing in a loss, but put over Kurt Angle, of course, also. and because it was still one of his first few WrestleMania. Well, no, I should say it was one of his last WrestleManias, probably. But just an excellent match between two legends that had not clashed yet in the WWE ring, and just. It's amazing. That moment again is still, when I watched it again, I had not seen much of the backstory besides, the promo before the match, and I already was so invested in this match. It's one of my favorite matches, not just in WrestleMania history, but of all time for sure to watch. Is this match right here. Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 21. Number 2 is another one of my favorite matches of all time. WrestleMania 28, end of an era. Now, I know the moment after the match, I've kind of put a little bit lower on my list because of the fact, again, that, this ended up not being the end of an era, as they did have a last time ever match at Super Showdown last year. And then that waste of a time tag team match at WWE. Once again, guys, say with me, Crown Jewel last year. That was just god-awful. Just a god-awful and insulting pay-per-view to have. But still cannot take away that, again, I've said this before, WrestleMania 28 was the first WrestleMania before my time I'd ever gone back and watched, because it was shortly after I became a wrestling fan. My good friend Daniel Geiza gave me some wrestling DVDs to watch some of the old better shows. And one of them was WrestleMania 28, which I still feel, yes, the first couple matches were what they were, nothing really too special, but WrestleMania 28 was still a fun show to watch. I definitely would go back and watch WrestleMania 28, and I'd enjoy it from top to bottom for sure again. End of an era, I mean, yes, we did have Once in a Lifetime, which was a great match, but end of an era was forever, my favorite match from WrestleMania 20, and another one of my personal favorite matches of all time. With the story there of, Triple H is, Triple H at first declined the Undertaker's request for another match, because even though last year in that grueling no-holds-barred match at WrestleMania 27, probably the only good thing about WrestleMania 27, of course, but obviously Undertaker wanted to prove that, because Triple H basically, even though Triple H lost, he pretty much had, physically beaten the Undertaker, physically. He didn't get the winning decision, but he physically did beat Triple H, and he wanted to prove to Triple H that he could do the same back to him, basically. But first, out of respect, Triple H declined, because he didn't want to hurt the Undertaker. But then he finally accepted. Hell in a Cell, end of an era, having Shawn Michaels as special guest referee. And, it was just amazing. Obviously, Triple H and Shawn Michaels had a history where, Triple H has used Shawn Michaels to help him get victories at times. That's sort of good playing in there. And, obviously, this was, Shawn Michaels also there. Shawn Michaels, maybe he'd want to take part in helping Triple H do what, he couldn't do. Or maybe Shawn Michaels would turn on Triple H and prevent him from doing so. And, there's so many scenarios could have happened. And it was just a grueling match. Two of these legends beating the hell out of each other for sure, and just laying everything on the line. And of course, my favorite part in this match, no doubt about it, is one of the biggest kickouts I've ever seen. The spot where Shawn Michaels super kicks The Undertaker. Because at this point, Shawn Michaels was an emotional wreck throughout this match. I mean, Shawn Michaels has had several times where he was just like an emotional wreck, just not sure what to do. Obviously, Triple H was just so determined. He wasn't really a heel, but he was kind of more so the healer man in this, the heelish man in this feud. He wanted to do anything he could to beat the streak. He had done everything there was to do except for beating the streak. And even, if he had to go to Shawn Michaels, he was going to do whatever it took. And there was a spot towards the end where Shawn Michaels, even though Triple H has kicked out of several tombstones already, Shawn Michaels set a sweet chin music on The Undertaker, stunned The Undertaker, knocks him right into Triple H, who has a pedigree. Undertaker still kicked out. Even as an early wrestling fan, when I saw that, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. How did he kick out of that? Like he just looked doomed when that happened. And it was just an amazing moment. Of course, Undertaker would win afterwards. You know, they had to show the sign of respect, and the three of them walked out together. And that, of course, again, was the end of an era. Until it returned last year, but we're not going to talk about it. We're just going to pretend that ever happened. That never happened. But that was my number 2 for best WrestleMania matches of all time. And my number 1 has to be the match that everyone always says is the best wrestling match of all time. WrestleMania 25, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. I mean, I like the story a little bit more for, you know, the second match with Shawn Michaels is desperate to get one last shot at The Undertaker, and if not, then he was done. But this match still was just an all-time classic. Just the bumps and the spots taking this match, especially, you know, going as far as, you know, having a spot where The Undertaker doing that suicide dive, trying to take out Michaels, but instead he takes out the cameraman. Like the near falls in this match was crazy. The action was just unreal. It was just two guys that you did not know, you know, who was going to win. Two guys who basically, you know, just put on a perfect wrestling match, emphasizing that these are two of the best in the ring. And of course, Michaels always says, I made one mistake that match. And it was going for that moonsault where Taker caught him and hit him with that final tombstone pile driver for him to get the victory. Then, of course, again, at the Slammies later on that year, of course, they were honored with that. And then Michaels, of course, just went after Undertaker, just begging him, doing anything he could to get one more shot at the Undertaker at WrestleMania. And of course, at first, Undertaker declined. And he said, I got to enter the Royal Rumble because at the time, the Undertaker was the world heavyweight champion. He goes, I'm going to enter the Royal Rumble, and I got to, you know, beat her once. That way I can face Taker at WrestleMania. And Shawn Michaels just went in there into the Rumble match, of course, and did everything he had to do. He even eliminated Triple H, his own best friend. He was in the Final Four. The Final Four was him, Batista, Edge, and Cena, which I believe is true. But, you know, Batista pushed him off. And again, I still love that elimination. You could just see you know, everything like, you know, flashing before Michael's eyes, like just missing those ropes and his feet hitting the floor, just going nuts, just like super kicking everyone in sight. Just upset, and he went as far as he could as to taking out the Undertaker in the Elimination Chamber match and costing him the world title and getting his revenge at WrestleMania 26, when the stipulation was if Shawn Michaels beat the Undertaker, he breaks the streak. If Undertaker beats Shawn Michaels' career is over. And of course, as Shawn Michaels would say, you don't get it. If I can't beat you, I have no career. You're on. And just amazing. Again, the story, I'd say I was a little more invested in for WrestleMania 26. WrestleMania 25 match, though, was definitely better. So my best matches, again, for WrestleMania, again, three best women matches I mentioned was Charlotte and Asuka last year, Mickie James and Trish for WrestleMania 22, and then Charlotte and Sasha and Becky for WrestleMania 32. My top 10 best matches at WrestleMania, again, Daniel Bryan, Triple H, Hogan the Warrior, Rock and Hogan, Austin Rock 2, WrestleMania 17, Orton Batista Bryan, WrestleMania 30, TLC 2 is my number 5. Number 4 was Hart and Stone Cold in the submission match. 3 was Angle and HBK WrestleMania 21. Number 2 was End of an Era. Number 1 was Undertaker and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. Of course, we still have the worst matches to get to. Let's check the live chat and see what else we got here. I think all the Money in the Bank matches were pretty good. Yes, they were too. Worst, oh yes, the Divas Battle Royal. Oh yeah. Best is the Hardys, Edge and Christian, the Dudleys. Yes, best Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. A great honorable mention, of course, with the Intercontinental Championship ladder match they had at WrestleMania 10 as well. That was amazing. Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, and of course, Ric Flair's retirement match. I'm sorry. I love you. Bam! Just a great moment there for sure. Undertaker versus Jimmy Superfly Snuka, because it was the start of one of the greatest undefeated streaks in history. That is true. And yes, definitely Rollins and Orton was a great match. And of course, that RKO, which again, I still love the story that Rollins, I say this every time, I still love the story that Rollins told behind that with, the fact that, they were practicing it, but they could not get it down when they did it on each other. And of course, he's always saying how Randy Orton's guy just likes to play it safe and basically bat 1,000. But then finally, right before the match started, Randy was like, you know what? Screw that. I always play it safe. I've had plenty of WrestleMania matches and they're all great. Let's just try it and see if we can get it. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but this is Seth's first WrestleMania as a single star. Like, what if it screws up? Was that going to hurt his reputation? Whatnot? Okay, he was kind of thinking for himself there. But again, they were able to get it. And of course, I just love how he mentions how, Randy gets all fired up after they hit it, which again, we think it's Randy and Kerry going, that's right. I finally got him, after, what he did to me months ago, basically. But, same time, that was actually Randy Orton for real, just, getting all excited that they got that move down, with, of course, Rollins going to curb stop and just Orton, countering it with an RKO. But that was actually Orton all excited that they got the move down, that he, gets so excited and he forgets to cover Rollins. So of course the referee is just like, hey, you gotta cover him, and then he covers him, of course, and he gets the win, which obviously was just for a reason to continue the feud with Rollins after WrestleMania, because Rollins was going to be cashing in, winning the title. But that, of course, was definitely awesome. And Triple H versus Sting, but the ending sucked for sure. The match was great. Why did Sting have to lose that match? Yeah, I still don't get it to this day. So yeah, thank you for the stuff in the live chat, Mark. Let's get to the last list, guys. The top 10 worst WrestleMania matches of all time. Starting off with number 10 from WrestleMania 21. Big Show versus Akabono, if that's how you pronounce his name, in a sumo match. We see two guys, including a professional wrestler or sports entertainer, doing basically, a sumo match in thongs. Big Show was in a thong. It was just one of those things, like another honorable mention I'd say for this list would have to be the match with Roddy Piper and Mike Tyson in the boxing match, because WWE needs to learn again, trying to take, boxing and wrestling and trying to, intertwine them, pulling off the same concept of what they do in that business with, another business. It's just not going to work. Like Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler have made the smooth transition from, mixed martial arts into sports entertainment. Like them as a mixed martial artist in sports entertainment has worked. When you're trying to throw two guys that obviously are not that experienced, in sports entertainment, or one who at least isn't, and trying to make their art look will choreograph, basically, it just does not work. And the same, of course, went with this sumo match. This was just giving Big Show something to do, and it was just hard to watch. And that's why, to me, it was my number 10 for worst WrestleMania matches of all time. Big Show versus Akabono, whatever I can get a name, in a sumo match at WrestleMania 21. Again, Big Show in a thong. I just can't get that image out of my head. It still freaks me out. But that's my number 10. Number 9, The Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez at WrestleMania 9. Y'all know how much I can't stand this match. You all know how just disgusting Giant Gonzalez looked, coming in with that very, very ugly bodysuit. Like, he was basically the Great Khali of the 90s, except looked a lot more disgusting than the Great Khali. The Great Khali was just boring in general, could not wrestle, and just, got much more than he deserved. Giant Gonzalez, his run in WWE was with WWF, of course, was very brief, but this guy was just slow. He was not entertaining. He was boring. And even going as far as, again, this match ending in a disqualification, I can't remember why, but it was just stupid in general to have happened. Like, why have a disqualification at WrestleMania if it means absolutely nothing in the long run? We'll be seeing that, of course, again when we get to my number one for this category, of course. But I'm sure if most of you have seen my, my top 10 best and worst matches of all time, what's probably coming for number one. But just a terrible match. Again, to show that back in the day, even though Undertaker was on his way to being a legend, he still had his moments where he was green. And he was still kind of green in this ring. And facing a guy like Giant Gonzalez did not help, especially in that disgusting looking bodysuit. But that's why it is my number 9 on this list, Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez. Ah, boy. Number 8. Number freaking 8. The main event of WrestleMania 34. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Now, this match I feel could be a little bit higher. And the thing is, this match was not good. This was a snooze fest. It was boring. It kind of was a match that wasn't terrible, but it was what it was because we all knew for over a year that this was probably going to be the main event of WrestleMania 34. Obviously, there was unfinished business between them. They never really had a decisive finish, at all to their match at WrestleMania 31, which was a good match for sure. That's definitely an honorable mention for one of the better WrestleMania matches of all time. But this match, though, the story was better, even though it felt like, something shoving down our throats that, hey, love Roman because Brock does not show up. Of course, they couldn't mention that beforehand. Before Roman Reigns, feuded with Brock Lesnar. But again, it just felt all forced. But Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, I still felt, okay, these guys, if they at least put a good story, I know they have a great match in them. They had a great match, of course, several years ago, but of course, Brock probably just didn't give a shit at all. And that's probably why this match just sucked. But the reason why this match is more on my list is because of the finish. This match had Roman Reigns lose and had Brock Lesnar keep the Universal title. Why? Still don't get it. Probably because Roman would have not gotten a good reaction. Well, there was another match on this list, and believe it or not, it's next, that the WWE still went with Roman winning, and he still got booed out of the build. Well, again, the WrestleMania was not that great of a show in general, but, he still got booed out of the building. Either way, nobody was going to be happy with this match, especially with it being, of course, the main event. Should have been AJ and Shinsuke. For sure, they probably would have put on a much better match than they did, which, again, last year's match at AJ and Shinsuke, I wouldn't say was awful, but it was not as, the classic that we just obviously set our expectations so high for that match. We should have known it's WWE. And plus also, I think they were probably told that they can't put on that good of a match because, it will, just outshine the others. Like, even I heard a rumor also recently that there was a match, I think it was Michelle McCool, I can't remember who it was, on Raw or SmackDown years ago. They had a really good match, but they were basically told to do the match again because their match was too good. It's just, once again, WWE feeling like, they can just control everything. Because again, with this decision of keeping the title on Brock, as I said, it literally felt like it put the WWE on lockdown last summer until Roman Reigns got what they wanted. That's Roman Reigns getting a good reaction, winning the championship. Like, oh, we'll wait for a long time, put the title on Roman. They'll get so sick of this title right now, they'll have no choice but to love Roman when it came to that. And yeah, it was just, again, Roman Reigns, taking that break from WWE with leukemia was one of the best things for him to do, not just for his health, but also definitely, bring him back and start fresh with him, basically. Because so far, again, I've been fine with Roman's booking. So far, I can't complain that I've, hated his booking so far. Like, to stop, again, as I've always said, they need to stop booking Roman Reigns in a way that the company is saying, screw you all, this is how we're doing things. Like, that's why, Roman Reigns got booed for 4 years. But we'll see what happens with him and McIntyre WrestleMania 35 in a week and a half. But still just not a good match at all, and just a terrible decision to make keeping the title on Brock Lesnar. Especially the fact that, you threw the he had him throw the Universal title at Vince when he came to the back after the match, which that's a man you want to be leading your dear Lord, just pisses me off again. They better take the title off of him at WrestleMania with Seth Rollins beating him at WrestleMania 35. Hopefully, but wait and see. But of course, that is number 8, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 34. Number 7, Roman Reigns versus Triple H at WrestleMania 32. This one I ranked higher. I mean, yes, obviously, Triple H retaining the championship would have been whatever I felt, because, at least I feel like he would have at least made a more interesting champion than Brock Lesnar. But this match pisses me off more than last year's main event, because if I said this how many times, I'm sorry, but this was actually a dream match of mine. I had been wanting to see this match since the Shield and Evolution feuded back in 2014. When they were feuding, like, you know what? I would love to see a singles match one day with Roman Reigns and Triple H. And there were rumors they were considering doing it, I guess, at SummerSlam 2014 that year, but instead they had him take on Randy Orton. But I was psyched the moment that Roman Reigns just really beat the shit out of Triple H at TLC in 2015. And even though Triple H, of course, took the title off of Roman at the Rumble, I was still pumped for that match. But of course, they messed up the story big time. Of course, the following night, having, again, as I said before, Triple H claiming that Roman gets no more opportunities as long as not champion. But then yet, at the end of the night, they still hand him an opportunity just because it made no sense. So the story was all messed up. And then this was also after that long-ass segment involving The Rock, hyped up for months, just coming back just so he can come to WrestleMania and announce the attendance record. That's the only reason why they brought back The Rock, and that him and John Cena just squashed the Wyatt family and made them look like fools. So this show is already way too long gone, way over than it needed to be. And then this match was like 27 minutes, and they did nothing but basically just go through the motions. It looked lazy. It looked like they didn't even care. Like, it honestly, it was basically, a Randy Orton and Triple H, repeat almost, except worse, from WrestleMania 25. Like, that at least had a good story. And I wouldn't say that match was like too terrible, but the problem is that match had just followed a really great, match with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Like, that had no chance of topping it off. But this match, again, was just, they were going through the freaking motions. The only good thing about that match I remember was when Roman Reigns speared Stephanie McMahon. But it was just obvious that Roman's winning this. You knew it. And then, of course, towards the end of the match, like, the part that made me mad most was towards the end of the match, Triple H picks up his sledgehammer. Usually when Triple H picks up his sledgehammer, it's like, oh my goodness, this is a big dramatic moment. What's he going to do? But basically, Roman was just like, like Roman Reigns was some type of, like, cat, just like trying to, like, swat at a mouse, basically. He was just like, and Roman's like running back and forth, hitting the ropes, just waiting for that right moment to hit the spear. It basically looked like Hunter was just like, okay, Roman, I want to swing this at you like I'm actually trying to hit you with this, but just do me a favor and just spear me wherever you want and just get this over with. Like, you see the replay in slow-mo, Triple H had already had the sledgehammer out of his hand before Roman even speared him. It was just a really lazy, gone through the motion match that just really disappointed me. And again, it was a dream match of mine for sure, that I know these two could have literally put on, like, a bloodbath or something like that. Instead, they just put on just a lazy, slow-ass match to main event one of the worst WrestleManias for sure of all time. So that's why it is my number 7 on my list here. Roman Reigns versus Triple H at WrestleMania 32. Number 6, from WrestleMania 15, Undertaker versus Big Boss Man inside Hell in a Cell. And our honorable mention, of course, I've already ranted about, Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez. But also Undertaker and Roman Reigns for sure, because that match is sad to watch. And just the little send-off afterwards is now pointless because he came back a year later. In a squash match with John Cena, which, yeah, if it was for Undertaker to come back and just, go out on a better note, awesome. But no, instead, it was just if they're trying to make this like a big Undertaker return from retirement and whatnot, then, I could have accepted it, but I couldn't because it was just a year later. Like that's not, a retirement. That's just Undertaker doing his normal thing, going away for the year and coming back. Of course, he's not going to be at this year's WrestleMania, but no talk and no tease from him at all, which, is fine. We don't have to have Undertaker every year. And it looks like John Cena's not going to be there unless he, out of the blue, has a match with Kurt Angle. But Undertaker and Big Boss Man, to me, in my opinion, is the worst Hell in a Cell match of all time. It was it was boring. They did not use this cage well at all. But of course, the worst part about this was what happened after the match. I've said how many times. It was who? Like Gringold, whatever his name is, Edge and Christian, like the Ministry of Darkness, like flying down from the ceiling and basically hanging the Big Boss Man, which, you can't, again, I know it's just, it's all choreographed and whatnot, but you can't do that and have Big Boss Man basically just, like act like, he was not dead. Like you basically just say you hung Big Boss Man. This made no sense at all. And, it was just pretty bad. That's why it's number 6 on my list for worst WrestleMania matches of all time. But so far, right, that's halfway through my worst. So far, number 10 is Big Show and Akibono in the sumo match at WrestleMania 21. Big Show and a thong, dear Lord. Number 9 was Taker and Giant Gonzalez, WrestleMania 9. Once again, dear Lord, that freaking bodysuit. Number 8, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 34. Dear Lord, that freaking, the finish. Number 7, Roman Reigns and Triple H, WrestleMania 32. Damn it, W, you screwed up a dream match of mine. Number 6, Undertaker versus Big Boss Man, WrestleMania 15. Because how can you hang someone and expect them to be saying that they're still alive, basically? But let's check the live chat again. See what we got here. Big Show versus Floyd Mayweather was what it was. Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. Yeah, Taker and Cena, of course, because, once again, what was the point of it? Mickey and Trish is awesome. Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus the Club versus Cesaro and Sheamus and the Hardys at WrestleMania 33. Yes, that was amazing. Even once again, I still feel that was Big Cass and Enzo's match to win, of course, till the Hardys came back. But this the Hardy was return is that's what made that match one of the most exciting moments of that show for sure. As definitely it was just definitely really hot after that return happened. And then also Rollins and Triple H was a good match, but I felt what took me out of it a little bit was that it was too long. It could have shaved off like 5 minutes or something like that off that match. It was just a little too long of a match for sure, but it was still a good match. A match, of course, I've been looking forward to ever since Triple H had turned on Rollins. Still a good match, but I feel it could have been a little bit better if it wasn't so long. But good mentions there, Mark, for sure. We'll get to the top 5 of my worst WrestleMania matches of all time. Starting off, with number 5. And one of the people involved in this match had a little video out today. One of those, where are they now videos? And I watched it. And the more I watched it, the more I hated this moment. Because it really made me think, everybody's like, yeah, I was just so excited for him having this moment. It's like, well, what did he earn to have this moment? This shows that anyone can make it to the WWE. No, this was not anyone making it to the WWE. This was someone just basically handpicked to fill an empty spot. And I hate to insult because it involves a 10-year-old kid. And I don't hate kids. I hate obnoxious kids. But I can't stand WWE for having comedy and making something and making a joke out of one of their biggest stars at the time that literally just took a hit and has just not recovered ever since this match. I've always mentioned, and I'll even get back to it saying I did say it before with when I was talking about Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar last year, but I was enjoying WrestleMania 34 last year up until the final 2 matches. The main event and my number 5 for worst WrestleMania matches of all time, Braun Strowman and Nicholas Cone versus The Bar for the Raw Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania 34. So first off, we got to look at, the biggest victim of all this. Braun Strowman. Well, also kind of the whole entire Raw tag team division, because this was at a time where the Bar had beaten everyone in tag team action. There was no legitimate contender for them for, WrestleMania at all. And then Braun Strowman goes out there and wins a tag team battle royale for the #1 contender for WrestleMania. And even though, I was very curious as to who the partner was going to be for Braun Strowman, because he was told he had to have a partner. And of course, I'm trying not to completely, copy exactly what Robbie Wan Kenobi said in our year in review awards video when he ranted on this as his worst match of 2018. But basically, we were all the speculation, of course, is who's going to be Strowman's partner. Even though I kind of was a little sour about this from the get-go, because I felt, okay, this is just Braun Strowman literally getting a consolation prize and making the rest of the tag team division look like a joke. Well, this was worse, making the tag team division look more of a joke is what happened. Of course, for weeks, we're wondering who's going to be the partner. He came out with like what brain, address of his brain Strowman. It's like just turning Braun Strowman into a freaking comedy act instead of him, being just a freaking monster. So he comes out, and you're thinking people are speculating. My idea was maybe him and Cassius Ohno, or since the rumors that Bobby Lashley was returning, when she returned to Raw after WrestleMania, him and Bobby Lashley, him and Samoa Joe, him and just so many other people. He comes out and obviously does not have a partner. So then I'm like, oh boy, what's this going to be? Like, I actually was kind of, anxious to see who was going to be returning. But then he says, one of you guys in the crowd is going to be my partner. And I'm like, huh? But I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe there's someone from NXT or someone like that in the crowd that he's going to find, or someone, big celebrity he's going to find. And, someone that at least would make this entertaining, make this work, that he's going to pull out. I forgot to mention this also when Robbie ranted on this, but I remember when Braun started walking through the crowd, I saw No Way Jose. And I heard rumors of No Way Jose being called. Because actually also, I heard another rumor apparently back when the brand split returned in 2016 that No Way Jose was actually being considered to be called up, but instead they called up Mojo Rawley, which of course they did that to bring the Hype Bros up onto the main roster. But I saw No Way Jose. I'm like, it's gonna be No Way Jose. Which at this point I was thinking now I think about, like, I would have been okay with that, I guess. Maybe we'll get Jose actually something to do, because the moment he was brought up after the Raw after WrestleMania last year, and he was just basically made the arrows, I'm like, he's doomed. Like, he's already doomed. Like, he has nothing. He has nothing going for him at all in the main roster. He's not going to last that much longer, I still feel. But instead of even picking a legitimate superstar like No Way Jose, he picks a 10-year-old kid who only reason why he had any connections to this in the first place is because he is the son of a WWE referee, John Cone. Nicholas Cone, a 10-year-old kid, was Braun Strowman's tag team partner. And this instantly killed Braun Strowman's mystique. Like, they could have had Braun Strowman again, even though, again, I wasn't a fan of the consolation prize. He could have, won the titles, been like a single, tag team champion, and, maybe put over, like, Authors of Pain or someone eventually. As Robbie called it, basically called himself the monster among champs. And, but instead, you make this a laughingstock comedy act, turning Braun Strowman, again, as Robbie says, from the monster among men to the freaking babysitter among men. In that Where Are They Now video, Nicholas flat out said he had stage fright. What did this kid do other than tagging in Braun Strowman, going there for like 5 seconds, staring down Cesaro, getting scared, and tagging himself out? They should have just made this match and just Strowman versus the Bar in general. It was just a match that, again, just killed Braun Strowman's mystique. of being from going from a monster to like what, the biggest world's biggest like teddy bear now or something like that. Just make him into a freaking comedy act. And also this put a damper at the beginning of just proving as well that the Raw Tag Team division this past year is nothing but a joke. It's an absolute joke. No one feels special in this tag team division. Not even the Revival as tag team champions. All they do is lose. Yes, they put on some good matches, don't get me wrong, ever since, they won the tag titles, but all they do is lose. How should you be champions if all you do is lose in non-title matches? It makes no freaking sense, and it just makes your champions look weak. If people are beating the champions, why are they still champion? It makes no sense. Having a 10-year-old kid, like, it's literally just saying, they could have just called me up and said, hey, you want to be the youngest ever champion in WWE? They pick someone's name out of a hat. That's what it feels like. Like, if this was like maybe like a Make-A-Wish kid, even like, going as far as having, I'm not sure this would have worked, but having like the winner of like the Warrior Award being Strowman's tag team partner, then okay, maybe that would have been more easier to digest. Like a Make-A-Wish kid having this moment, would be something special for someone who's definitely fighting, a deadly, a severe illness or something like that, or something. I could maybe accept this, but this was literally WWE saying that, like, anyone could do this. Like, as a videographer, if I show up with a cell phone to film a professional video that people are paying me to do, this is me basically saying that, hey, look, anyone can do this. Or like a photographer saying, hey, I'll take pictures with my cell phone. Anyone can do this if they have a cell phone. WWE basically said that by paying just a random 10-year-old kid, all because he is the son of a referee. Literally, again, I'm sitting there listening to this kid's mother and his kid's friends, in interviews. And I'm just like, they're like, yeah, shows that he had his dream of getting into WWE, that I can get into WWE I want to. Like, it's not the point. It's like, no offense. My thing is, I hate when I bash on these type of people because some people are just doing their jobs, like salesmen. Like, when I was growing up, my school had this magazine drive sale. And the thing is that they would hype up these kids so much of winning all these prizes. But, then again, it's like, you had to do it by doing some of these like astronomical things that it's like, who's going to want to buy, 50 magazines, basically? You know what I mean? It's like you can't, like overhyping something that, like, is not as easy to come across as it is. You're basically saying that, anyone can just walk into that ring and achieve it. No, being in that ring is a privilege of, just, you don't get there just because you just got your name picked out. You got there because you earned your way into there. And just basically being, handpicked like he was. Just, again, if it was a Make-A-Wish kid, again, I could have accepted it. But with it just being just a random kid that, like, it just made this whole thing like a joke. And it's why, to me, I just absolutely, it was literally a what the fuck moment for sure. I'm like, are you serious? Like, you had me, even though I was a little sour on this, you still had me curious, okay, who's going to be the partner? Who's going to be Braun Strowman's partner? And to me, this was nothing but just a letdown. And I know I probably rambled on this one for quite some time, but, that's why, in my opinion, this to me is one of the worst, not just WrestleMania, but one of the worst matches of all time for sure. Braun Strowman and Nicholas Cone taking on The Bar. Just some random kid is now the youngest ever tag team champ. Like, what's gonna happen like when someone like someone young comes in, and if it wasn't for Nicholas, someone with much more hard work ethic, has earned his way into the ring, wins that championship, and he's not considered young one because some freaking random 10-year-old kid, got it instead. It makes me mad. But that's all I will say about my number 5 on this list. Number 4, Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose in a no-holds-barred street fight at WrestleMania 32. Another match that I consider a huge letdown. Not because Brock won, although I was hoping Ambrose would have won this match. Because Dean Ambrose, of course, was on the verge of really being of definitely, he was one guy that I felt that he's definitely someone who should be fighting for the world title, after WrestleMania 32, the position he was in. And of course, he eventually did when he won Money in the Bank and cashed in, had that great moment of Money in the Bank 2016 when all three members of the Shield were champion within the span of 5-10 minutes, which was an awesome moment for sure for me. It's not that Dean lost that I didn't like this match. The build for this match was excellent. Having, Dean Ambrose as being, the crazy lunatic, just taking chances and just, letting Brock Lesnar just beat the shit out of him every single week, but it was not enough to keep him down. He's just like, hey, what's up, Brock? Is that all you got? Basically. And of course, making a no-holds-barred street fight to use weapons. But as Ambrose even said on, several interviews, that he went into that match frustrated because him and Brock obviously had just a very different, and I feel this was the match I started to lose interest in Brock Lesnar, because it was basically, there I learned, Brock Lesnar, just didn't care. He didn't want to do anything. Even, the way he broke the weapons and just tossed them out of the ring and whatnot during this match just showed he wanted nothing to do with it. I mean, yes, character-wise, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, this is a match that, Brock could have, I get Brock doesn't need weapons to destroy someone, but with Brock Lesnar, playing Ambrose's game and getting pissed off probably with what Ambrose has been doing, you think you do that. And so even with Ambrose receiving all these weapons from legends that most of them weren't even used in the end. All this match was just Suplex City and an one F5 on a big stack of chairs, and that was it. This match was only like 10 minutes, if that. And it did nothing for Ambrose. It did nothing for Brock, and it just felt like just a waste of time. I mean, I rank this, over Reigns and Triple H, even though that was more of a dream match for me, because this should have been a match tearing the house down. Even if Dean lost, this should have been a match of the night candidate and a match of the year candidate for sure. And instead, we find that as one of the worst matches of the year for sure for 2016. I think when we did our year in review, I think one person who did the collaboration with me did actually pick this match as his worst match of the year. But just in my opinion, one of the most disappointing matches for sure. One match that was such great hype, and then it just does not deliver at all. And the main person you can really blame with this is Brock, because he didn't want to do anything. Like as Ambrose said, creatively, him and Brock had, different mindsets creatively. And he didn't want to do anything. So that's why we got the match we got. Just like a 10-minute match of just Suplex City and an F5 on chairs, breaking all of Ambrose's weapons. So definitely, in my opinion, one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history at number 4. What was even more of a letdown, though, in my opinion, my number 3, another match featuring Brock Lesnar, but this time it's the classic of him and Goldberg at WrestleMania 20. This match, like the match with Ambrose and Lesnar, had excellent build. Like, the story was there. WWE did their part in this match. All that basically needed to happen was Brock Lesnar and Goldberg having to go out there and do their thing. And having Stone Cold Steve Austin out there just to make sure things were under control. They built this up as two guys who just wanted to tear each other apart. A legitimate bloodbath we were waiting to see at WrestleMania 20. And unfortunately, that is the exact opposite what we got. And instead, it led to just a bad taste for both Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. Because going into this match, we just found out that both these guys were leaving. Brock Lesnar, he was done with wrestling at the time. He wanted to go back to the NFL or whatever he wanted to do. Goldberg just wasn't happy with WWE because they just didn't book him right at all. Especially, of course, in that, at SummerSlam in 2003 with that, the way the ending to that that Elimination Chamber match was like, again, that was not the right route to go for Goldberg, just because it was Triple H and whatnot. But anyways, these guys went out there. Of course, everyone first was more so booing Brock Lesnar, and Brock just did not give a fuck. And eventually, Goldberg got frustrated, and he didn't give a crap either. All we had was just some long lockups, just a slow-moving match, just a couple minutes of lockups, a jackhammer and a spear, and that was it. A match that should have been, two big men going in there, fast-paced, trying to kill each other, literally just stood there, stared at each other, yelling at each other and at the crowd so bad that the crowd booed everyone. Booed them both out of the building. And it was just a black mark on both of them. Like, the only people you to blame for this match being as bad as it was is Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. WWE did the best they can to definitely, hype up this match as it should have been. They did their part telling the story and everything. Brock and Goldberg just had to go out there and capitalize this, and they did not do that. Of course, Goldberg, knew that was not the right way to go out. And 12 years later, of course, he came back and made it right. And what I thought wasn't good, but, the feud was good. It wasn't amazing, but, especially I gained more respect for it after, that Raw Talk speech that Goldberg gave about him and, doing this for his son and whatnot, and the experience it had been for him. But, I had respect. The only problem I had with that feud, again, is it didn't need to have the title involved in it. Because that's, of course, the beginning of Brock Lesnar getting a pointless Universal title run. But this match still, to me, like, if I would ever do a top 10 letdowns, this may be my number one. Because this was a match that should have been a classic, and instead it was the exact opposite. It should have been all the way up here in the ratings. Instead, it was all the way down here at the flat bottom, rock bottom, because of just, how neither of these guys just did not care. And that's why, of course, it is my number 3 on this list for worst WrestleMania matches of all time. But let's get to the top 2. And I'm pretty sure these are probably my top 2 worst matches of all time. Besides, not just WrestleMania, but the whole promotion of WWE of all time. So let's get to it. Number 2, the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royale at WrestleMania 25. Oh boy. I still, to not this day, cannot forgive WWE for doing this as a complete insult to the women in that match. This is why I can't take stuff like, like an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale or the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royale or even King of the Ring the past times, or Best of the World. I can't take these little challenges WWE makes here and there seriously, because nobody gets anything out of it. Except just showing that, once again, even a guy like Shane McMahon, who, Shane McMahon is great, but he's not the true best in the world. Especially when a tournament consisted of all Americans. From Crown Jewel, by the way, as you all know. But this Battle Royale, you had absolutely no clue who was in this match until they were eliminated. There were legends in this match who weren't even announced. They were eliminated. It's oh, look, she's here. Oh, look, she is here. You were looking for, that big name, amazing person to be crowned Miss WrestleMania and have a WrestleMania moment. When Cesaro did it in the first Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale, it felt special because it was a new star being built, and he had, he had to eliminate one of the toughest competition for sure in that match in the Big Show. That was that Battle Royale was my favorite. This, though, you had the winner be a guy dressed up as a woman. Santino Marella was Santina Marella. And it's not just the fact that he won that makes me angry. When I watched this match, when I did my WrestleMania review series, go back and double check my WrestleMania 25 review. You watch this match and you watch Santino Marella. He literally was just like standing in there like he was a spectator. It's one thing if a guy wins the match. It's another thing if the winner of the match was never even involved in the action in the first place. Santino Marella just sat in there like a spectator most of this match and would like walk around, and all the other women, of course, wouldn't even acknowledge the match at all. They would just walk right past him like he didn't even exist. Like, at least, like, acknowledge this random, stranger in this match or something. Get some offense in. Like, nobody ignored Nia Jax when she came out in the men's Royal Rumble this year. No, they targeted her. After, of course, she eliminated she eliminated Ali, because that's his name now. People went after her. Santino Marella did absolutely nothing in this match except was in there like a spectator. And the most he did was just lift someone's leg over the rope to eliminate them. And it looked like it did absolutely nothing to do so, with little effort at all whatsoever. This was just a freaking comedy act. Again, there was how many legends in there that could have won this, and this was just a slap in the face to the women, I felt. The fact that you couldn't even have, it's not the fact that he won. The fact that he acted, they had them all looking stupid in there, ignoring the fact there's this random person in there that, maybe not at first, if you're watching this, would catch on that, was in there. But the fact that it's this complete distraction that, there's someone in there doing absolutely nothing, and everyone else is acting like this person does not even exist. It was just stupid, a slap in the face for sure, and not just one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history, but to be one of the worst matches of all time is this women's WrestleMania Battle Royale. When something is that insulting to your pride like that, or a 10-year-old kid, just the son of a referee again, winning a championship just because it hurts the mystique for sure. And this was just absolutely embarrassing, pitiful, and stupid. And it's why it is my number 2 for worst WrestleMania matches of all time. And probably my second worst match of all time, in my honest opinion. But, of course, it's not the number 1. Let's get to number 1. And, of course, I've definitely ranted about this one before, so I'll try not to completely repeat myself because I've ranted about this one how many times. But let's get to my number 1 worst WrestleMania match of all time. And once again, review from my top 10 best and worst matches of all time. This was also my worst match of all time. And it still is to this day. My number 1 worst match in WrestleMania history is Michael Cole versus Jerry the King Lawler at WrestleMania 27. Why? Why? Why did this ever take place? Jerry the King Lawler, I believe, had already had WrestleMania, a few matches at WrestleMania, but had success in WWE before. Why did this happen? What in God's name was the whole point of this? Again, I was not watching wrestling in 2011, but definitely some of the years closer, like from 2010 on, even though I didn't watch until 2013, I still feel 2010 to 2012, I still have a decent idea of what all happened. And 2011, honestly, was not that bad of a year for WWE, even though WrestleMania was pretty bad that year. But I still do not get how on earth things still were at least somewhat good getting through the 8 months of this stupid feud. Or even longer than that, because 2010, because Michael Cole mentioned this in the Daniel Bryan documentary, because they were talking about, of course, about, it was right before they showed the match that Bryan had with Chris Jericho on an episode of NXT. And people were thinking that Michael Cole's commentary was meant to put over Daniel Bryan, but no, it was just at the time the WWE was experimenting with Michael Cole as a heel announcer. And Michael Cole as a heel announcer is just absolutely pitiful. It's Stephanie McMahon, Jinder Mahal, Nia Jax level heat. The heat of which it's, again, it's not the heat that you're just like, I just want to see this guy get beat up. It's the heat that's basically called, again, people call it white heat, where it's like, get off my TV, you suck at your job, you're annoying, I'm tired of hearing you every single week, just go away. Such as, with Noam Dar and Alicia Fox, or again, Jinder Mahal to me, or just get so many people, who I just can't stand seeing on my TV. Michael Cole fell right into that category as a heel announcer, and it was just pitiful. So, they have this feud with Michael Cole just attacking Jerry the King Lawler, like verbally for months. And again, when watching WrestleMania 27, it was a distraction to me. It was a huge distraction that I don't know how anyone could have sat through 2 hours of Raw. Again, Raw was only 2 hours. Imagine if it was 3 hours. We're imagining if this was taking place on a 4 or 5 hour pay-per-view like we get today. Or 8 hours now if you count the pre-show, because still WrestleMania 35 is rumored to be 8 hours. It would drive me insane. It would drive me away. There came to a point where I wanted to shut off WrestleMania 27 because of the freaking commentary and how bad it was. Not calling the matches, arguing with each other over like whatever pitiful nonsense they were arguing over. So, of course, the match happens. And they have Jack Swagger as, Michael Cole's, training buddy. They have Stone Cold Steve Austin in there just trying to, salvage this in any ways they can, because they know this was not going to be anything special at all. But think about this. Daniel Bryan and Sheamus were supposed to have a U.S. title match on the main show. It got bumped to the pre-show. When, if you would have eliminated all of this, and I say all of this because of the time it took on this show, you could have easily had Bryan and Sheamus on this card. It would have made this show at least a little bit better to swallow. The entrances took forever. Michael Cole came out as that heel, getting absolutely no reaction at all whatsoever. It was like a very bad comedian staying on stage and no one's reacting. You hear crickets in the background. It was stupid. It was annoying. He was acting like a freaking idiot. And this took up time. Jerry the King Lawler finally comes out. We start the match. And, of course, the match starts with Michael Cole, hiding out in the coal mine, whatever he called it. And Jerry the King Lawler just, shaking his hand, trying to make peace with him. But then just, pulling, Cole's face to the glass. Once again, nothing but a comedy act. And Jerry the King Lawler at the time was the wrestler. Michael Cole was not. He was a freaking commentator. A commentator who literally kicked Jerry King Lawler's ass for a good portion of this match. He carried the offense. Eventually, finally, they put him in the ankle lock, and of course, at this time, Stone Cold Steve Austin was just, just fooling around with Michael Cole, just making him, look like a fool because, he already has like a fool the way it was, and he was taking forever to get him to tap out, to ring the bell, because Michael Cole was tapping out for ages. Then afterwards, think about that. That match probably about like a little over 10 minutes. Just the match itself. Then there's a post-match celebration of Lawler and Stone Cold toasting a beer for a couple minutes. Until several minutes later, the anonymous GM comes up and says he didn't like the way that Stone Cold Steve Austin, handled the match. Therefore, the winner by disqualification is Michael Cole. So you take someone who has the most annoying voice, just, has probably the most white heat at the time, give him a disqualification win just because at WrestleMania, just to continue on this feud for 2 more pay-per-views. Why? What did this do for anyone? And keep in mind, again, with entrances, the match, the post-match celebration, the announcement from the Raw general manager, this took up 30 minutes of WrestleMania 27. 30 minutes in which you could at some point have thrown in Daniel Bryan and Sheamus in that 30 minutes. Give this match like 5 minutes and ending it for what it was, it would have been for what it was. With, of course, Lawler winning and ending this feud that had no need to continue on at all, and saving like 15 minutes or so that for Bryan and Sheamus. Instead, you gave 30 minutes to, okay, a guy who has a history of wrestling and a commentator who has no business being in a wrestling ring, just being a comedy act. 30 minutes this took up. This was the whole show was based around. This was the show was all hyped up for, because obviously, that's how it felt to me, because all I heard about this throughout this time was Lawler and Cole arguing like little babies. I, for the life of me, do not know how WWE was as decent as it was in 2011 with these two guys bickering, especially if this continued afterwards. And it's still, even after, Lawler and Cole made peace out of nowhere just because, probably because, Lawler embarrassed Cole when he had to kiss his foot, that was absolutely stupid at Over the Limit that year, even though Over the Limit was not a bad pay-per-view in 2011, of course. But Michael Cole's annoying heel antics continued until a year and a half later when Jerry the King Lawler suffered a heart attack on Raw. I just do not get what the whole point of this was. This did absolutely nothing for anyone. It was just, once again, another embarrassment to the product. An embarrassment on Michael Cole's part, an embarrassment on Jerry the King Lawler's part, Stone Cold Steve Austin's, the whole company in general. And that's why, to me, it is not just the worst WrestleMania match of all time, but it is still, in my opinion, the worst match of all time in WWE history. And I don't watch too many promotions outside of WWE to say, there was anything worse than this, but this was just bad. So bad. And I'm pretty sure I would have felt the same way I felt when Braun Strowman picked Nicholas to be his partner as this was. This was a what the fuck moment for sure. And with that, guys, that is it. Let me read over my picks one more time for all my lists. Again, the 3 women's matches I mentioned were Charlotte and Asuka, WrestleMania 34, Mickey and Trish, and Charlotte and Sasha and Becky at WrestleMania 32. Of course, an honorable mention definitely also is the mixed tag team match with Ronda, Kurt, Stephanie, and Triple H, because of how great that, proved that Ronda Rousey belonged in the WWE and that she was, definitely going to work out. For worst, for the best, for top 10 best, I'll do worst last, as I did worst last here. My best, number 10 is Bryan and Triple H at WrestleMania 30. Number 9 is Hogan and Warrior at WrestleMania 6. 8 is Rock and Hogan at WrestleMania 18. 7 is Austin and Rock at WrestleMania 17. 6 is Orton, Batista, Bryan at WrestleMania 30. 5 is TLC 2, WrestleMania 17. Hart and Stone Cold in a submission match, WrestleMania 13 is number 4. Number 3 is Angle and HBK at WrestleMania 21. Number 2 is Taker and Triple H, End of an Era, WrestleMania 28. Number 1 was Taker and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. Worst were, again, for me, were the sumo match, WrestleMania 21, between Big Show and Akibono. Number 9 was Taker and Giant Gonzalez at WrestleMania 9. Number 8 was Lesnar and Reigns, WrestleMania 34. Number 7 was Reigns and Triple H, WrestleMania 32. Number 6 was Taker and Big Boss Man, WrestleMania 15. Number 5 was Strowman, Nicholas, and The Bar, WrestleMania 34. Lesnar and Ambrose, WrestleMania 32 was number 4. Number 3 was Lesnar and Goldberg at WrestleMania 20. Number 2 was the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal WrestleMania 25. And number 1 was Cole and Lawler at WrestleMania 27. Of course, again, this is probably one of my favorite topics. Again, talking about best and worst matches, obviously, usually one of my best topics we're talking about. I'll check the live chat, of course, before I check it, just to get, get my plugs in for next week, of course, as well. Next week's top 10 stream will be my top 10 best and worst WrestleManias of all time. We will also, of course, next week do, my Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, NXT, I think UK and NXT reviews. Again, it'll be my predictions for NXT TakeOver New York and WrestleMania 34. Again, I was considering, like last year, I did do a WrestleMania Q&A session, but I'm just not gonna have the time next week. Just getting a few things done for work, which almost done, but I would like to get a few things done for work before I leave next Friday, and I'm going to be getting busy packing, getting anything else ready I need to have for my trip. So next weekend, I'm going to try, get those in. Again, I will not be able to review TakeOver New York, WrestleMania 35, or the Raw after WrestleMania until I get back. I mean, unless if we do one on Dan's channel, I'm not, and unless we decide maybe, hey, we'll do one on each other's channel or something like that. I'm not sure, but we'll I'll take care of all that when I get back and get caught up on all those when I get back from WrestleMania. But again, I'm coming back the Tuesday after WrestleMania. I'm leaving next Friday, right after TakeOver New York, which I think if we have time, Dan and I will do a live review on his channel of TakeOver New York before we go downtown and catch the mega bus, because we're supposed to be leaving at 11 o'clock on next Friday night. And then of course we're going to be taking off from there. And then, so again, I'll get caught up on that stuff on my channel when I get back. Also, again, I'm still strongly considering sometime soon, but again, I've just been, once I get a little, complete, the recent stuff I'm doing with my video game Let's Plays, I may slow down on video games for a little bit. And, because again, I've been dying to actually do another retro review series, which is of all the NXT pay-per-views. Like, even the ones I've seen so far but haven't reviewed, I want to do for his channel. So that I'm going to try to do sometime this summer. I also want to do like retro review series, something like these, documentary series. I want to do some of the 24 specials, or I actually kind of taken a little just in, the Chronicles we've seen recently and the photo shoot ones. Also, I watched the one with AJ Styles the other week, and I thought they were pretty interesting. Or, there's a couple other things. I want to kind of do reviews of that stuff as well too, and leave my thoughts on those specials as well, because they are quite interesting when you do take time to sit down and watch them. But that's just some stuff to come and some ideas I have post WrestleMania and whatnot, but just to get those plugs out there, guys. But let's check the live chat one more time before we go off the air here. Let me see here. You're right here. Mark's saying that another best for him was the opener of last year's WrestleMania. I definitely got to agree with that one. He thought that Charlotte and Asuka was okay, which I could say it was definitely okay. It feels okay now because, it just led Asuka in a downward spiral, but I still thought she had a great performance in that match for sure. But it's fine. We thought it was okay. A bad match I thought was Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss. I wouldn't say that was horrible. It just was for what it was, but it should have been just a quick little squash match. It should not have been as long as it was, I felt. What's up, Tyler Hodder? Been coming back here and there. Nice to see you again. He's saying a worst for him was Brock and Roman last year, which was good. Last year, WrestleMania 31, I keep saying, if the cash-in did not happen, I was still happy with how their match at WrestleMania 31 went. Like I said, it was what I wanted to see. What do you feel about the character out of it? Well, I took whatever I felt about the character of Roman Reigns at that time out of it. I thought I got what I wanted to see, and I felt I could see out of those two matches. It was a match I definitely did want to see at some point. But again, it was just the bad time, not the right time we wanted to see it happen, but okay match, Marco said, was the Shield versus Kane, the New Age Outlaws for WrestleMania 30. My thing about that match is I was fine with it, with how they did it, because at the time, the Shield was at their hottest. and literally having them just being as dominating as they were, just like, squashing them, but just like, killing them in that match was what exactly that needed to be, I felt. So I actually would say that's more of a thumbs up for me with that match. I wouldn't say it was like a classic, but it's what it needed to be. Undertaker and Edge was also a great match too. Tyler liked Charlotte and Asuka as well. Undertaker and Batista was good. Yes, definitely. WrestleMania 23. Stone Cold and The Rock, WrestleMania 15, and Eros Brock at 19. Those were good as well. I still feel 17 my favorite, though. Ooh, Tyler, that's a great, great honorable mention for a best. I can't believe I forgot about this one, but the main event of WrestleMania 20, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Chris Benoit is definitely, in my opinion, one of the best triple threat matches of all time. WrestleMania. That's a great honorable mention, Tyler. Yes, Undertaker and Reigns definitely was not good. It was just hard to watch. It was just so hard to watch that match, and just what happened afterwards would have been a great send-off if that was Taker's last match, but it was not. Mark also says, another best for him was Naomi versus Natty, Carmella, Mickey, Becky, and Alexa for the SmackDown Women's title. That match was all right. But, I mean, I appreciate that match because it gave Naomi a WrestleMania moment. And I know Naomi's not as big of a not really that big of a deal to me as she was at one point. But when I first started watching wrestling, Naomi was one of the women that I definitely saw having a lot of potential. Just wasn't really getting much opportunity. Besides she was constantly losing to AJ Lee in her Divas title reign and her Divas title matches leading up to that point. But I definitely felt she was definitely someone I was overlooked and underutilized. Like, I still feel to this day she should have dethroned Nikki Bella after WrestleMania 31. Like, when she first turned heel, she was great. I wanted her to dethrone Nikki Bella so bad. But her getting that WrestleMania moment in her hometown, that was amazing. That's why the match they had was decent, but I appreciate that match more because of what the moment it gave for Naomi, for sure. Hulk Hogan and Warrior, he enjoyed. Despite the ending to Jericho and Styles, that was still a great match at WrestleMania 32, I gotta say. New Day and League of Nations. Like, New Day deserves so much better than that at WrestleMania 32. Even though, of course, it's set for, the interaction with, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, and Mick Foley coming out and taking out the League of Nations. And, of course, Xavier Woods can hit the stunner, and him saying, like, I feel like I may be one of the last people to ever take a stunner at WrestleMania. But still, they deserve something much better than that. That was just a stupid feud as well. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, of course, is a great honorable mention. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, of course. Yes, that one at WrestleMania 5 when the Mega Powers exploded. Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle's great honorable mention. And of course, we got Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio is great also. Batista and Triple H style was just okay. I saw this good match, but that's fine. Watch Triple H go back to being a heel after WrestleMania. I kind of hope that it doesn't happen. Because, again, Triple H is a heel. As much as I gotta say Triple H is much better as a heel, with where he is right now, being the guy that everyone is favoring, because he obviously does such a much better job writing this show than Vince McMahon, I really feel that he should still more so be that babyface corporate character that's trying to, instead of being the destroyer now, kind of being more like, that positive creator now. So I don't think they should turn Triple H back into being a heel right now, I feel. Mark's checking out. Oh, we got Robbie. Oh, Robbie. I forgot to mention that. Forgot to put that on my list. I can't believe that. This is a moment where I don't put my own self on my own list of Jericho because I forgot to mention one of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time because of, again, what I mentioned last week with the storyline of Punk being just a typical dick heel. I'm not Punk. Jericho being just like the best, dick heel he could be. Hit me in the head, Punk! Hit me in the head, Punk! Your father's a drug, Punk! Your father's a drug! That was awesome for sure. Yes, I still love that, of course, also. Also, of course, since Robbie is here, of course, Robbie also sent me, a message today, gotta read exactly what it said here. It had to do with Hideo Itami's GTS on Austin Aries after Austin Aries match with No Way Jose at TakeOver Brooklyn 2. Sockless low for boy Hideo Itami hit Austin Aries the GTS. Robbie, since you're in live chat, I have two more things I gotta mention for you. First off, Velveteen Dream coming out on a couch last night was still quite epic. Still cracks me up. And as I said on Twitter, guys, I love you, Dean Ambrose, but obviously it's coming a lot more clear to me that you pretty much are out the door. I think he will be gone after he is pretty much done right now with WWE. I still wish they would have just, had his final match be that Falls Count Anywhere match. I still felt that last man stand match was kind of pointless last week. But, my years I've actually been using my Twitter as, a because I had my Twitter account for the longest time. I barely ever used it. I never used it. Then finally one day someone suggested the idea, well, why don't you just use it to, just for the platform or YouTube channel? And that's what I do. I, live tweet during Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views in NXT whenever I can, but sometimes I get much more invested in it, especially also with the fact that I watch it with friends most of the time, and also since I do live reactions usually. But it's definitely kind of more of a much more useful platform for me with social media than it was when I first got it back in 2011 when I first made my Twitter account. Till then it was just absolutely pointless to me. I almost deleted it several times, but for the longest time, my cover photo, which actually, take that back, because my cover photo was actually me, my old girlfriend most of the time. But then after we broke up, for my cover photo had been nothing else but the many faces of Dean Ambrose. And for the longest time, it was that face that he made whenever it shows his reaction from Seth Rollins getting slimed back in 2014. To then, of course, change it to that look he gave Seth Rollins the first, time he appeared after turning on Rollins last October. But then, of course, the last night I thought, you know what? I'm sorry, Ambrose. I love you, but the days of the many faces of Ambrose being my cover photo are done. It's time to worship Velveteen Dream on a couch. I seriously want to do some type of, imitation of that. It was still epic. And also, again, I don't know if you guys caught my 205 live review or my heel or my turn alert for the Oney Lorcan heel turn, but another one of my favorite imitations now is, besides Oney Lorcan spazzing out about Cedric Alexander knocking his jacket off, was when he was spazzing out Alexander and the beat afterwards going like, "You took away my dream! You took away my dream! You took away my dream!" Like, next time, someone else gets a job over me, I'll find them and I'll come down and I'll say, "You took away my dream!" But I had to mention those with you in the live chat, of course, Robbie. Let's see here. Tyler also says that an okay match. I was Triple H and CM WrestleMania 22. That was a good match. I like that. Let's forget how awesome that match is. Very underrated as well, for sure. Again, because we write that match with Jericho and Punk underrated, of course, because, like, Jericho is going out of his way to make Punk angry, attacking his family's personal issues, and even, coming to the point where, of course, Punk had heat with John Laurinaitis, and Laurinaitis became, permanent general manager of both Raw and SmackDown, and he made the match, if Punk got disqualified, he would lose the championship, and just Jericho did everything he could to piss off Punk, for sure. The main event of WrestleMania 2000 was definitely all right too, Tyler, but I agree definitely. The main event I felt should have been still just Rock and Triple H, but still was good for what it was. Mark doesn't think that the face turn is going to last long. We'll see what happens, of course, Mark. Lesnar and Taker was not really too great as well. So when did No Hate Jose become a Muppet? He looks like freaking Kermit the Frog. Yeah, Kermit the Frog, yes. No Hate Jose is Kermit the Frog because that stupid hair he has. And again, Robbie, I don't know if you missed it before when I was ranting about Braun Strowman and Nicholas. I was mentioning how, because I forgot to mention this in our year in review awards video, when Braun Strowman went out into the crowd to find Nicholas, and I first saw No Way Jose, I had the slightest hunch that night that he may have went over and picked No Way Jose, but he didn't. But I would rather have No Way Jose than Nicholas. Definitely go back and listen to the rank, because as I said before, if it would have been like a Make-A-Wish kid or something like that, I could have maybe accepted a little bit more. But just the fact, again, there was just some random 10-year-old kid that all he was just a referee's son. It was just like, that was stupid. Babysitter among men, yes. Best Stone Cold and The Rock in WrestleMania 15, 17, 19 for sure. He flip-flops almost as much as the Big Show, which is kind of true anymore, Mark. You got a point on that. But yes, Mark, Tyler, Robbie, Jalen, of course, was here at the beginning. Thank you all for joining me live. And as always, guys, to get the plug out there for him, please make sure to check out Robbie One Kenobi's channel. I know he's been busy for a while, hasn't really had a chance to pitch any, Wrestlemania, or I'm sorry, not just Wrestlemania, but any other fantasy booking ideas, which I know more will come soon for sure, Robbie, when he has the time. But definitely check out his videos, even if, some of the stuff he has pitched, the time for that to happen may have passed, but just listen to the ideas that he has as always, guys. And of course, if you like what you hear as always, guys, please subscribe to his channel and get hashtag please sign Robbie trending on Twitter as well. And of course, at the top of my page, as always, pinned is a tweet with my please sign Robbie endorsement video for sure. They should do AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe for the championship at Mania. Even though they've done it several times, it would still fit. It would still be a good match for WrestleMania for sure. I'd like to see that for sure. Tyler, a good suggestion. But yeah, with that, guys, I want to check out here, guys. Thank you for joining me live again. This week, I say just maybe just a few odds and ends, maybe upload. But again, all that content mentioned for next week will definitely be happening. As of course, I get ready to leave for WrestleMania 35 next Friday. I'm so excited, guys. I cannot wait. But once again, guys, if you have any more of your favorite, matches or worst matches at WrestleMania, male or female, leave them down in the comment section below. As always, please slap a like on my video, subscribe for more content on my channel, follow me on Twitter, BamRide3. Again, next week's top 10 special stream will definitely be top 10 best and worst WrestleManias of all time, in my opinion. So until then, guys, I'm checking out. Have a great rest of your night. I will see you guys all later, and peace out, everybody.